All right, if you've been following me, you know I've been having the worst 2 trading weeks of my life so far. So I decided I'm gonna make a video on my worst trading habits. These have affected me in my previous evaluation that I first passed my Express account, and now they are affecting me on this evaluation as well. So yeah, so my worst habits are whenever I get stopped out of a trade thesis, I will immediately, impulsively jump right into the same trade without letting price develop any further. And yeah, you'll see I literally will jump in within the same minute without letting price develop at all. So that's number one. My second worst flaw is not taking profits off the table at my planned 10 to 15 point target. Yeah, that's been a problem with me in the past too. It doesn't happen too often, but it does happen a few times, usually in a month. So there's that. And my third mistake is taking trades without proper confirmation signals. Like I might have a certain price level or something, and I might just, let's say it's a supply or demand zone, I might just enter purely based off of the zone rather than letting the tape confirm my analysis. So that's number three. And then number four is taking setups that are just completely against market flows. So yeah, I'll get into that one in a little bit. So this is easily my worst mistake that I make, and I've made it ever since I've pretty much started this journey futures trading. And what basically happens is I'll have a trade thesis and I will enter a position, get stopped out for a 4 point loss or a little bit less, and immediately after getting stopped out, I'll re-enter into the same thesis. This normally happens when volatility is low and we're just kind of like chopping around and chopping up slowly, and I just basically re-enter with the same analysis, and it usually goes against me. So I've had this work out where I will kind of just miss time and entry, and that just definitely happens. I have an example that I didn't add in this presentation, but last week I had an example where that exact situation played out. But yeah, most of the time I will re-enter within the same minute of being stopped out, which is just makes no sense at all. So here are some examples of that. First example I have, you can see on the bottom here, I have it circled my exit time. So that would have been my stop. Let's see if I can, yeah. So this is my stop down here, 756.23. And then you can see I'm right back in the next position with the same thesis at less than a minute after getting stopping out. So that's one. Same thing here, 9:52. This one is just over a minute. And then I have two more examples. Here's one just over a minute. Here's one barely a minute. So if you add these up, we're not counting the first trade because the first trade thesis is valid, it's valid, and it gets invalidated. That's fine, but we are counting these. So this loss could have been prevented by either not taking the position or maybe waiting. So there's one $400, two $400, 25, 350. So total cost of this mistake in the last 2 weeks for me has been $1,375. This is easily the most common mistake I make. And yeah, I need to be way more conscious about doing this because on my first evaluation, it definitely happened, but it definitely wasn't as bad as it is been lately. Second mistake is having winning trades and then not taking the profits at my initial target. So I'll show you an example in the next slide, but basically I'll have a winner that goes in my favor by 10 to 15 points, and I'll be targeting maybe 20 points or like a 22 point level. And I've had that reverse on me. Yeah, basically just having a winning trade go to break even on you. And that's happened to me a lot of times in the past, but it happened to me once recently, which was a pretty bad one. And yeah, so that was this. So basically you can see I took the market short at 5,375. This was, I think, a 14 point it was actually no, you can see, so yeah, in this example down to the right, you can see the TradeZella insight. At one point you were up 1,400 on the trade, and then you closed at negative 25. As you can see, basically giving up $1,400 of profit. I added 25 on there because I ended up taking a $25 loss, which is nothing, but we'll throw it in. So yeah, as you can see, I could have taken this off for 1,400, which would have been my normal target is 10 to 15 points. So I should have at least taken one contract off and then let that second contract go to break even. But I ended up trying to run the whole trade to lower, which I remember this was PPI, I believe, and I was targeting the 50% retracement, which was literally like 2 or 3 points lower. So that one hurt. And like I said, this doesn't happen too often, but it's happened to me multiple times. So it is a costly mistake for sure. So now our total cost for our mistakes is 2,800 in the last 2 weeks. Third mistake is taking entries without proper confirmation. So there will be times where I will, like I mentioned, I might just be speculating on a price target or a certain level, and I'll enter a trade solely based off that without letting the tape or order flow confirm my thesis. And these tend to work against me. So as you can see here, I basically just throw it in the no setup, and here's a couple examples. So this has happened to me 3 times in the last 3 weeks, and we are totaling. So yeah, this mistake has cost me about $1,000 in the last 3 weeks, bringing our total to $3,800 just about. And yeah, so as you can see, these mistakes are very expensive. My last mistake that I'm going to mention is jumping in front of market flows. So this is like going against the majority of the volume without having a possible pivot at a certain point or like a certain news event, because that can definitely spark up a whole pivot. But just going against the overall trend has been something I've kind of struggled with, like trying to catch a top on a run up or vice versa, trying to catch a bottom when we're selling off. And I just find that virtually every time I try to catch the top or the bottom, it's just like usually what happens is it'll take me like 2 to 3 tries and then I might catch it. But by the time it's the third try, then I'm pretty much making back what I lost anyway. So it's like there's no point in doing that. What you should do is just go with the trend, find setups that are with the trend, and go with the flows of the market instead of trying to fight, hoping for like an opposite volume reaction to step in, because that's just not something that's ever really worked out for me. So in this example, I'm going to show you guys me trying to catch a top. So my first position right here stopped out, and about 5-6 minutes after that, I'm seeing the same thing, take it short, stop out. And then one final try. Let's see, this was another 4 minutes. But yeah, so one final try, take it short, and stop out. And I'm actually pretty sure that this does end up selling off, but still it took like a whole another hour for that to happen anyway. So yeah, I mean, you can clearly see we're on an uptrend, and I just keep trying to short the market, and I keep getting used as liquidity. So that's another costly mistake that I know a lot of people suffer with, and that brings our total to $4,400, just about $4,500, which is literally a whole evaluation account in 2 weeks. Now, there are these mistakes, a few of them were, one of them was kind of like an opportunity cost, which was my not taking the profit off the table. And then some of them were also overlapping, like my short or when I'm entering right after getting stopped out, that overlaps with another one in here. But yeah, the moral of the story is $4,500 in mistakes that I paid to the market in the last 2 weeks. And like on evaluation, literally a whole evaluation right there, like that's a blown account. So how we're going to fix this is we're definitely going to be more patient on re-entries of a specific thesis to make sure I'm not entering directly after being stopped out, because it doesn't make any sense to enter within the same 30 seconds of getting stopped out. It's like the exact same thing is happening, so it's pointless. But there's that. And then the next thing we're going to do is we're going to make sure we take off at least one contract. I trade 2. at least one contract at our 10 to 15 point target, and then let the other one go for break even. That's gonna counter our mistake of not taking any profits off the table. And then we are going to be disciplined and realize our urge to take a trade that's not confirmed yet at maybe it's a supply zone, maybe it's a demand zone, but we're gonna make sure that we're very aware of our tendency to want to put a trade on just because we're at a key level and not using order flow or the tape to confirm our thesis. Then finally, we are going to recognize market flows and the trend. And rather than trying to take setups against them or call tops or call bottoms, we're going to find opportunities that go with the trend so that we don't have to pay a bunch of paper cuts and finally catch something on our last try just to end up walking away break even in total. So yeah, these are my biggest mistakes to this day. Let me know if you guys have similar mistakes or what your biggest errors are in trading. I'd love to know in the comments. And yeah, I hope you guys can learn from that. And yeah, good luck trading your evaluations or whatever you're trading. And I'll see you in the next one.